Hey rockers, welcome back to Bloody F Mess Official, and I'm hoping that you're ready to hop aboard the real crazy train. Yeah, we're going back to July 31st, 1985. This is part 2 of my tale of G.G. Allin, the Scoop on the First Poop show. Again, July 31st, 1985. I was 19 years old, man. So this is quite a while ago. Yeah. We're going to go, go from the part of the story where we got the laxatives. We're at my apartment in Peoria, Illinois. We have a crew of us together. My bass player that was in the band Hate for a couple different lineups. Jeff Piss was what we called him. He was there. And a girl that I was dating at the time was there. And Gigi was there. And I think Kevin Rotten was there, another friend of mine, that person that nicknamed me Bloody Mess back in '82. Anyway, we all got to the Creve Coeur VFW Hall. It's about a good 15-20 minute drive from Peoria to Creve Coeur. And we didn't really know what to expect from this little Veterans of Foreign Wars club or hall. And by the way, if you're somebody that gets offended easily, you might not want to watch this video. I'm guessing by now people have picked up on what, the topic's about in these videos. So I don't think anyone's going to get too offended. But I want to let you know, if it's not, scum rock isn't your thing, it's just a tale from the past, man, but it's something that's not, not particularly alluring to a majority of people. But then again, if you look at the number of views on my channel, it kind of is. So I'm going to shut my fat face. We all get to the VFW Hall. I was trying to think earlier, how in the hell did we get there? I don't remember, but we did get there. A whole crew of us, man. We arrived at the VFW Hall. They looked at us. They were like, holy hell. Gigi was wearing a pair of cutoff shorts that were like super, super cut off. And like his junk's hanging out. He's got like his no shirt on. He's wearing this big robe. And on the back of the robe, there's a big penis that's drawn, right? And with, something squirting out of it. Anyway, and then he's got his band name on the bottom, the Scum Fs, whatever, the Scum Fox. So it's written on the back, and these VFW Hall guys are like tripping out, like, where's the guy that rented the hall? I'm like, that's me, the guy with the big black mohawk that I had a shirt on that said Hate, and I was all in black with black motorcycle boots and a black leather jacket and the whole deal. And there's Gigi, and he's got his dog collar on, he's got eyeliner on his eyes. He looks completely out of it. He's been drinking the night before. Christ, he was drunk and blacked out with me just, 12 hours earlier or something like that. I don't know, 18 hours earlier. Who knows? I can't do math worth of crap. But we were all burned out. We moseyed up to the little bar, and there was 3 little old Veterans of Foreign War guys there. 3 VFW guys that were on the premises at this hall on the day that I rented it, and walked in there with Gigi and the crew, and they were tripping because they were just good old boys. They didn't take kindly to Mohawk guys in those times, let alone guys with walking around like Gigi was, dressed, and they could just tell there was something sleazy going on here. And it was wacky, man, and the people started coming in the droves. Now, it's been a widely disputed thing, how many people were at this Gigi show thing, and I've done my research. I've talked to everybody that I can remember to talk to that was there. And then today, in my own Hated in the Nation fanzine that I found, I went through and found 2 reviews from that show from 2 separate people that did fanzines during the time of this show. So these reviews came out like a month or 2 after this show. One of them said there was 150 people there. Another one said there was about 100 people there. So we're going to go with there was between 100 and 150. And since I was the guy promoting it and I had to bring a certain amount of change with me, meaning dollar bills, because I was taking money at the door, it was $3.50 to see Gigi with Caustic Defiance, a straight edge hardcore punk band, and myself, Bloody Mess and Hate, with a quote unquote joke band. We'll get into that. And $3.50, man. Wow, what a trip. Sometimes you go to punk shows now and they're not much more than $5 or $10. So I guess, I don't know. Who knows? But that's how much it costs to see this incredible spectacle you're going to hear about, man. And these VFW guys, man, they were tripping. They were getting more and more offended because at one point, we're all walking around and there's like tons of kids everywhere, punk rock kids. There was straight edge kids. There was like nihilistic punk kids like us, or they called us bent edge. But there was a lot of just different types of people, like some new wave kids, You know, there were some gothic people, but it was really trippy, and had to have been about 120, if not 150, in my memory's estimation. And we kept walking out to the parking lot just to kind of see who was there, who's hanging out, and then finally we realized there was, everyone that was there was there. And it was packed inside that place. Gigi at that point took off those shorts and was just walking around with the jockstrap on, and the guys were tripping at the VFW Hall. They were totally harassing him. They were like telling me, "Hey man, that guy's got to put some clothes on. What is this crap, man? Why is he wearing that jockstrap that says 'Eat Me'?" It said "Eat Me" written on it, and it pointed down like a little arrow pointing down, and it was just hilarious because he's wearing his boots. He's wearing a jockstrap that says "Eat Me," and he's getting literally about ready to be thrown out. Show almost over before it starts, right? And then the old man finally, Gigi grabs his robe, and he puts on the robe that he had on earlier, and it had the big penis on the back, and he's walking around with that now on to cover up the jockstrap, and these guys just didn't know what to do. And they didn't like me at all. I mean, I'm wearing black eyeliner with this big black mohawk, hate on my shirt. They didn't know what to expect when they saw the crowd come in that was so big, though. Unfortunately, none of those people paid for booze because most of them were under 21. It was an all-ages show. So there was probably not a person 21 and over in that crowd that I can remember. I think it was all people that were under 21. Who knows? But either way, the laxatives were starting to work on Gigi. He was really needing to kind of relieve himself, if you know what I mean. My friend Dave Lawrence was doing sound that night, and there was a lot of problems with the sound. A lot of tension happened between the bands with the sound. I don't remember exactly why or precisely what the issue was, but there was some kind of weird issue with the sound. And you can find the recording of Bloody Mess and Hate that night with Gigi in the audience heckling me, and you can hear him yelling, "Take your pants off! Take your pants off!" He keeps saying stuff like that from the crowd. You can hear that by typing in Bloody Mess and Hate 73185 on YouTube, and it'll go right to my other channel, The Church of Rock. All one word, and you can find that recording of Bloody Mess and Hate from this night, July 31st, 1985. Gigi full on heckling me, man. It was hilarious, though, because we're walking around and everyone starts to hear the rumor, "Hey, is this guy gonna take a dump on stage?" And everyone's like, the whispers have gone on that this is gonna happen, because we kind of told a few people that that's what Gigi was gonna do. And when he did eat the X-Lax, there were people hanging out that saw him do it that were like, "What is going on? He's eating like 4 times the amount of X-Lax you should be eating in order to cure a constipation problem." And, he's got all this liquor in him from like God knows how many days in a row, let alone the night before, right? And so we're hanging out. It gets real tense. There's a lot of tension going on because the first band, Caustic Defiance, was a pretty popular Central Illinois straight edge hardcore band, right? And I was friends with those guys, and I was even in a band with half of those guys. So the tension was there, but we were all like teenagers. So I'm writing that off as who gives a rat's ass at this point. I'm not going to justify it or not justify anything. I'm just going to report the facts, my friends, in the most punk rock effing way that I can. So Caustic Defiance was good. They had a lot of sing-alongs. A lot of their crowd was there dancing and singing along. Of course, Gigi and I and our crowd, we were pretty obnoxious. I don't remember who did it, but I think the sound guy, in conjunction with either Gigi or maybe somebody else, I don't remember. Somebody was taking like a microphone and like yelling into the mic during that band set and being really obnoxious. And I remember there being a lot of tension and stuff going on with yelling and taunting. But it is what it was, and it was something that was dealt with. So like I say, Caustic Defiance played, had a great crowd for sure, and that consisted of Barry and Chopper Steppy, and also, oh my God, I'm gonna sit here and lose it when I'm doing my video. I'm not gonna. Oh, Brad on vocals and Happy on the bass. There you go. And those guys played to a good crowd that loved them. And then I was in a band that was supposedly a kind of a joke band because we were doing like covers by, Gigi Allin. We were doing Fear, and we were doing stuff like that. And we were just doing a lot of wacky punk rock stuff. But be it a joke band or not, it was still totally punk rock. We had half of the Steppy brothers in the band, who were in the band Unaccepted with me, and Chips Patrol. So you had Barry Steppy on guitar, you had Chopper on drums, and Jeff Piss was on the bass. And we did a great set of music that night, and we did a lot of covers. We did like Flipper, Sex Bomb, and I Don't Care About You by Fear. And we did, you know, Drink Fightin', You Know What by Gigi, and a lot of songs like that. So half the band took it as, oh, I'm just joking around. And the other half the band took it like, this is punk as freaking fuck. And it was, man. It was a good time. And then that band actually continued for like 2 years in different incarnations, Bloody Mess and Hate, and played with a lot of cool bands. But I digress. So after Caustic Defiance ends, it's time for me to perform with my band Hate. And so we get up there, like I say, we do our set. Gigi's in the audience. He's like, take your pants off. It was really funny. I couldn't even see him in the crowd because there was a lot of people there standing up watching us. And it wasn't like there was a stage or anything. It was like a little platform thing. It was like a little mini stage. It was a little mini stage. So yeah, I guess there was a stage. I take that back, but it was very small. There are photos out there of Gigi, of course, doing his thing at this show, and you can kind of see the setting. It's like a brown linoleum interior, old school, you know, VFW Hall setting, very boring and bland, you know, but it was cheap at the time, you know, and we had a lot of people that came through the door at $3.50 a piece. Even 100 people, there's, you know, hundreds of dollars. And back then that was good money. So I remember when we actually left that night, having the cash bag before the cops got it later, which I'll tell you about. And I was tripping about how much money was in there. And we were happy because I was able to actually have money to give Gigi a nice chunk of money that night. But I digress again, and I'll get to that. So we got done playing, and I did my thing, and that recording is available on YouTube, and we were pretty rowdy. That recording is actually really, really out of control. And then Gigi Allin did a sound check at some point, whether it was before this or after. It was probably before the band started. And he did a sound check, and he was up there with his hard hat on, right? And it said Gigi, these stickers that said Gigi. And he had his cutoff shorts on, and there's pictures online somewhere of this. And, you know, he's wearing his dog collar, and he's up there doing his thing. And then, you know, once he does his sound check, he's good to go. He had his cassette tape plugged in, but for some reason that night when he performed, it wasn't working, man. So we had a boom box somehow that was on the premises, or somebody had a boom box that played cassette tapes, right? And Kevin Rotten, the guy that named me Bloody Mess, or helped me name myself that from a Sex Pistols song back in '82, was there, and he said, hey man, I'll hold the mic to this boom box. So we plugged in Gigi's cassette because the PA wasn't working on the PA guy we had didn't have a cassette player that was working correctly. So we have this boom box plugged into a wall. The thing's about this big, right? And Kevin Rotten's holding a microphone that's hooked up through the PA system. They crank it up on the PA, press play, and that's what Gigi Allin performed to that night. He had a cassette tape that he'd recorded of all these songs, and he only got to do 2 that night, however. And I made some freaking notes, man, and I'm going to make sure I don't forget to tell you exactly what happened, you guys. Because it'd just be ripping you off if you don't get the full story. Well, anyway, at this point in time, there's a lot of tension in the air at this show. I was tripping because I didn't know what was going to go down. I knew that he had not gone to the bathroom since he'd taken that X-Lax early in the afternoon, and now here it is like early evening, and it was like, okay, and the tape starts, and there's Gigi up there with his boots on, just his jock strap, and he does, I wanna, you know what, you. And then he does that Teacher's Pet, right? He's up there bashing the mic into himself. He's rolling around on the ground. He's completely just, people are freaking out on him. They're looking at him and thinking, what in God's name is going on with this guy? And I'm up there like, yes! And I'm listening to these songs that came out on the You'll Never Tame Me, I think it was and then I Wanna, You Know What, You 7-inch. Great record, man. Teacher's Pet, great song by Gigi, I gotta admit. And I'm like, at that point in time, a big fan of that music. And of course, I'm just like beyond grateful that he's there performing live, right? And then all of a sudden, the crowd's tripping. Everyone's kind of just standing back, and no one's really knowing how to react at all. And the old men at the bar, they're really tripping. I'm watching them. They're watching me, watch them. They're watching Gigi. And these old men were like turning red, like, what's going on here? And they just smelled it. Well, they smelled that something was coming. And boy, did they have good sniffers. Well, into the second song, and I'm recording the whole thing on another boombox, right? Because I bootlegged everything back then. I got a story coming up later about me and Gigi passing out on a sidewalk together and waking up and having my cassette player stolen with the recording from his show at the Exit Club in Chicago. That was a super crazy weekend. Anyway, Gigi is all of a sudden performing the second song, and he turns around and takes a big steaming pile of you-know-what right on the stage, turns around literally, and it just comes out thick, folks. And there's a photo out there somewhere of that stage of that crap, and it's just, there might not be, it might have burned in the 2020 fires, man. But when he did that, as soon as he did that, the smell in that place was so horrendous. I assure you, I cannot describe it in enough detail. I can't accurately describe what it was like to smell what we smelled when Gigi finally let it loose that day, July 31st, 1985. Dude, it was completely gross. And everyone started running towards the doors. It was like an old Wild West saloon, like just people freaking the F out. Now, a lot of people heard what he was going to do and started leaving before he went on stage. Yep, quite a few people left because they were like, I'm not going to take any part of this. Yeah, in retrospect, it was probably smart, but it was very quite shocking and fun and funny at the time, to me. Now, in retrospect, it's still kind of funny. But that he actually did that. I was like, what a freaking nut, man. My friend here's a freaking actual lunatic. Psycho, you know? And so here's what happens, guys. Here's where it all started. The tradition of him rubbing that all over his body started when all of a sudden, when he did that, it was like people started running. It was almost cleared out within about a minute. And all of a sudden, those old men in real time, you could hear them say, "You piece of shit." And they started running towards him like they were going to beat the crap out of him, dude. And so he, in response to that, in like a flight or fight response, reached down, grabbed it. And there's a photo that I have, and there's one online somewhere of him going like this, like disgusted with the fact that he was doing it. And it was trippy, man, that we even caught that on film, but we did. And that was in direct response because he knew that if he rubbed it all over his body, which he did, on his legs, all over himself, he lathered himself in all that stuff. And these guys stopped almost like a freaking cartoon. You could almost hear them dead in their tracks, like, and they just stopped. They weren't going to touch him at this point. So you know what they did? They started picking up my PA equipment, man. The guy that did the PA, I don't even know if he was still in the building at this point because we were using a boombox. And Kevin Rotten was holding the mic to it, and Gigi's up there running back and forth, beating himself in the head with a microphone, and then he starts pooping, and we were just like, oh my God, it was the smell that got to me. Well, all of a sudden, these guys start picking up my PA gear, like my big monitors, and throwing them out the doors, man. Our monitors, like my PA system, the board, they were taking everything. And I'm yet running around screaming, F you guys. And I'm literally almost getting into it with them. People are running everywhere. People are getting into cars. Somebody jumped on the phone. One of those guys was calling the cops. And there was a police station right there in Creve Coeur, Illinois, I believe. So we were tripping, man, because it was complete chaos. Gigi grabbed his stuff. I grabbed the bag of cash from the guy that was helping me do the door money. And like 5 of us all were kind of made a barrel out toward the parking lot. And it was just completely nuts. People were shrieking and screaming like a horror movie. And it was just crazy, man. So I don't know what happened, but I ended up having to sacrifice the recording of that show. Yep. The cassette player got left behind, man, and that thing took great recordings, man. It was like this little teeny micro recorder that I had that I could transfer to regular cassette tapes, right? So my buddy Kevin Rotten says, come on, jump in my car. And he's driving his mother's car because he's like 21 at the time, still living at home, and or he's like 18. Hell, I don't know. No, he was like 20 at the time, but he was driving his mom's old-fashioned station wagon like you would see in the Brady Bunch TV show, right? And Gigi gets in the back seat, and Kevin starts yelling at him, don't be getting shit on my mom's car. And Gigi's like, I won't. And I'm laughing my ass off. And all of a sudden, as soon as the front end of Kevin's mom's car gets to the pavement where you hit the road to take a left or a right out of the VFW parking lot, the freaking Tazewell County Police pulled in. Their front end was on the exact same place ours was pulling in as we were pulling out. We went that way, they came in this way, and they went booking into the parking lot, and we were just another car taking off. They had no idea who we were, and we got away. And yep, it was in the newspaper the next day. You know, punk rocker defecates on stage, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what happened to that article, but it had my name. It had Gigi's name. It could be researched on microfilm or microfiche or whatever the hell you call it. I don't know where you find it, man, but I couldn't find it online. Maybe you can. And if you can, leave a comment or email me. And I'm going to put my email in the description area. And before I finish this story, because it's not over, I want you to know I appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Give it a like if you would. It helps the algorithm, and it really does help me make some income. Help an old rocker out, man. And I'll bring you more stories about Gigi and so much more. I appreciate it. It doesn't kill anybody. Just hit subscribe, man. Thank you. So, we're in the car. We're driving away, and our hearts are racing. Our adrenaline's pumping. We're like, yeehaw! We're like the outlaws in a freaking movie, and like where you're like a guy with a white hat and a guy with a black hat, and we're the guys in the black hats. You know, we're like the bad guys. But we got away from the scene, and then all of a sudden, like I'm like, let's go to my house and have the after party. We already have the alcohol and the booze, you know, on ice, ready to go, and it reeks in the car. We're just like, oh my God, Gigi, I'm gonna, and I'm like laughing, like I'm looking in the back seat, bro. Like, but back then we didn't say bro like you do now all the time. But I said, hey man, Gigi, I can't believe you did it, man. And he starts laughing, and he's like, wow, they were gonna kill me back there. I go, yeah, they were. But he did that whole smearing up on his chest thing because he didn't want to have to deal with that 3 guys trying to take him on because they were really, really mad. And so we drive the 15 minutes to Peoria. We get to my apartment. The girl I'm dating shows up. A couple other friends pull up. Everyone's just like laughing. We're like, holy Christ, I need a drink. And we were pretty buzzed already because we had been drinking at the bar. Now, we weren't blacked out drunk or anything because I remember leaving very clearly. And I remember there being more than 100 people there too. But truthfully, we go to the stairs that are pretty much partially ripped off the building at this point from that party the night before. We go up to my apartment. I remember taking the key. Gigi's behind me. Shelly Mathis. Whatever happened to Shelly Mathis? The girl I was dating in '85 briefly. Good friend of mine too, up and through the 90s. What happened to Shelly Mathis? So me, Shelly, Gigi, Jeff Piss, and a few other people go back to my apartment. We start to get in that party mode, and I told Gigi, you got to take a shower, bro. So we walk up in the apartment. He immediately goes in his shower. And because I had to tell him like 5 times because he just kept hanging out. And I'm like, man, you reek. Just please go take a freaking shower, brother. And he did. And when he came out, this is classic. He came out with these same shorts on that he had worn on stage for the sound check, right? Super, super short cut-off jean shorts. And he had a little bit of crap on the back of his leg when he turned around and was walking out of the room because he just had his shorts and boots on. That was it. He was in full-on scumfuck mode. Totally. Anyway, when he turned around and I saw the crap on his leg, I said, dude, you got crap on your leg still, man. Go rinse it off. He goes, oh, come on, bloody. I had to leave a little on. And I was just like, too good. What are you going to do? So then he's in the shower, and I start looking around my apartment, and I'm like, hey, that's funny. Where's my TV? That's funny. Where's my stereo? That's funny. Where's my this? Where's my that? Well, the psychos and the drunks and the druggy nutcases that live below me decided to rob me when I was at the show doing my gig with Gigi, right? So I knew immediately who had done it because I was robbed. Somebody had come in my place. These guys somehow got in. They were living in the building before I was, and they did not like me or Gigi like, the night before I got jumped, right? So I realized I've been burglarized. Everybody, including Gigi, says, hey, call the cops, man. Call on those pricks downstairs. Let's, we know who did it. Blah, blah, blah. It had to have been them. They'll go in the place and find your stuff, And so we did, man. I thought, well, God, I've got like a quarter pound of weed here. I've got, a lot of money here, a lot of cash, a bunch of booze. I'm underage. And I mean, I had a lot of weed, which back then was very, very illegal in Illinois. And I'm still a big smoker. But hey, man, I digress. I smoked to that. Anyway, so I decided, well, if I'm going to call and tell these guys downstairs robbed me, I got to get this weed and stuff out of my house, right? So I turned to my friend Tony, who was Mexican, by the way, and I said, hey, man, I'm going to give you my money and all my weed and all my pipes and all my everything in a bag and run it down to your car real quick. He says, okay, man. So I stuffed all my money into a bag. There's hundreds of dollars from the show alone. Plus I had probably 300 or 400 at the house. So close to $1,000 I had in cash. And all the weed I had and all the pipes and all the, whatever else we had that could have got us in trouble when the cops came to investigate this burglary, which they were going to do. And boy, would that have been a nightmare story, having them walk up on this scene of people, right? Oh, what a real motley crew. So I pick up the phone. As I'm stuffing money and all the stuff into a bag, I call the Peoria police. I'm like, yeah, I just want to report that, and remember, I'm 19. I want to report that I have a burglary and we pretty much know who did it and blah, blah, blah. And so I give them my address, not knowing that the police were actually in the neighborhood already because it was a bad neighborhood, kind of. So while Tony's running down the stairs to his car, literally running, because we got to get this out of the house. Everybody's paranoid. And everyone's freaking out that I've been robbed. And I'm completely, my heart's beating because a lot of my real personal stuff was taken too. A lot of like my original writings and collection of music back then was gone. And but the one thing they didn't take was the money and the drugs because it was under my mattress. So I lifted my mattress up and I'm like, what a bunch of idiots. They didn't even look under the mattress. So, but they took all my valuables, all my, physical stuff. And I was just livid, man. I was livid with seeing blood and just wanting to party and not have to worry about this. But now I've been robbed, right? So we call the cops and I'm looking out the window and I see Tony. He's running to the car. There's Tony. He's at the car and here comes the police. And they see Tony, a Mexican guy, running with a bag after they just got a call about a burglary, right? And so they immediately jump out of their car, they draw their guns on Tony, and they say, stop or we're going to shoot you. And he freaks out, throws the bag on the ground, and immediately starts yelling, guess what? My name. Yeah, man. Dude totally narked on me right in front of me. To the cops immediately. Bloody F mess. His real name's this. Blah, blah, blah. He's up there. It's his. I was carrying it. It's not mine. It's all his, man. And I'm like, whoa, dude. I would have paid for that kid's attorney. So anyway, that was that. And I freaked the F out. And I immediately was like later. And I ran down the stairs that went to my back alley. And I started going down the alley. And I ran down another alley. And I ran down another alley. Crossed over, went to my buddy Jason Fott's house at that time, my buddy, and he had a father that was a professor at Bradley University. Their house was huge. They had an elevator in the house. And Gigi actually went over there with me before, I think, maybe not. Maybe I was watching Gigi videos over at Jason's. Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, I digress. I run down the alleys. I get to Jason Fott's house. I'm completely freaking out. My mohawk's all wilting. I'm all sweaty. My eyeliner's running down my face. I partied the night before. And now I don't know what's going on at my house or my apartment. All I know is this guy just narked on me and I'm going to be probably in trouble. And so I just ran and told Jason, hey man, can I stay here? He's like, sure. So he's drinking beer down in his basement. And I sat down there for a couple hours just going, to hell with it. I literally just was like, screw Gigi, screw the band, screw the party, and what just happened, I'm just going to party. And I just sat there and drank with Jason for a couple hours. And then it hit me. You've got to face reality, man. What are you doing? And there was no cell phones back then, man. There was no way to connect, hey, what's going on, bro? You had to deal with reality sometimes. So I thought, you know what, man? I'm just going to drink a few more beers, and I'm going to walk my sad ass down the alleys to my own defeat. And that's what I did. After a while, Jason said, man, I'll walk with you if you want. And I said, okay, man. And we started walking and we got about 2 blocks away and everything was cool, and I'm getting close to home. I figured, well, worst case scenario, probably my friends are still waiting for me at my apartment or whatever. And we get about another block ahead. I start seeing lights flashing. I'm like, oh, what's this? A little bit closer, we realize it's cop car lights, and they're all flashing, and there's a whole bunch of them. There's a paddy wagon, and the closer we get, we're seeing it. Oh, my God. We're like 10, 12, 15 houses away. And I'm like, oh, wow, there's a group of people in front of my apartment building. Wow, there's the hooker from downstairs. There's all the drug dealers. There's Gigi. There's my band. Oh, and there's like, 12 or 15 period policemen. And so it was a nightmare. I'm like, oh, my God. I felt like it was the guy walking up in a movie, man. Like, I'm just waiting to walk up into handcuffs. And that's exactly what happened. I walked up, I saw Gigi standing there, and he's like, bloody. And I'm just like, ugh. And everyone's tripping out. And they're like, there he is. There he is. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like a guy from a wanted poster. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen to me, man? And then I look and I'm getting closer. And next thing you know, I'm about 20 feet away from the paddy wagon, and the doors are open, and there's my friend Tony, the one that just narked on me, sitting in handcuffs saying, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you when I get out. And all this. Boy, that's a whole nother story of what happened later. But let me tell you, I should include that as a bonus. I really should. Oh, God, I have to. Anyway, so they immediately, the police see me and they already know what I look like. They know who they're looking for. There's not many people with a mohawk in Peoria. As a matter of fact, at that time, I might have been the first. I don't know. But regardless, they immediately handcuffed me and they put me on a separate side of the paddy wagon. It's got like a divider down the middle. And all I could see, there's people like clapping that I'm going to jail, man. Like my neighbors that didn't like me, like some of those neighbors that were robbing me were out there. And they're like, and I'm just like, wow, man, they're beating me twice, man, you pricks. And it sucked, man, because I was like, wow, what's going to happen to all my other stuff in my apartment? Gigi's got a ticket out of here tomorrow. What's going to happen to my stuff? What my apartment? What about him? How's he getting out of here tomorrow? It was a nightmare, man. And I ended up going straight to the Peoria County Jail with charges of intent to possession and intent to distribute, which was a federal offense. And basically, when we were in that paddy wagon, me and that Tony guy were going back and forth. I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you out. And it just kept going back and forth, but it wasn't that nice. It was really, really bad. And then they threw us in the cell together and we worked it out. Trust me. And I finally talked him into chilling out. And I said, look, man, I'll get an attorney for both of us and we'll figure out a good attorney. We'll figure this out and we'll get out of this crap. And so anyway, I'm like, who was I going to sell to? You know, there's no proof of any of that. So it'll get dropped regardless to a misdemeanor or something. Well, we ended up getting the same attorney, a really good one, but my friend had a mental disability and he started rebelling against the lawyers that were going to represent us, thinking they were somehow the law. And he would go in there and act out and be a total dumbass. And my lawyer told me privately, hey man, look, get rid of this guy, man. Also, get rid of your mohawk and get a job because you're probably going to go to prison. And it's going to be about 1.5 years in Statesville, the same place that Richard Speck is at, bro. And I was like 19 and I'm like, I can't do it, man. I'm not that kind of material, you know? So that really freaked me out. I did shave my hawk and I did get a job and I did not go to prison because my mother took out a loan and got me the ex-state's attorney as an attorney. And he fought that and got it completely dismissed. And the guy that actually tried to narc on me and immediately start, pointing fingers and saying, that's his, he ended up being charged with it. He did not go to prison, but he did get probation and got in trouble for it. And, as a bonus to this story, I'm going to let you know what happened with Gigi. As a bonus to this story, before I end this story, you flash forward years later, like in the early 90s, I'm in a bar. That guy walks in, that guy that, took the fall for that weed. And he walks up to me in a bar and he gets in my face, man. And he starts talking about that and how he's really mad at me and he'd like to take me out and all this. And I told him, hey man, you're barking up the wrong tree, bro. You better back off, man. Let's just forget that ever happened. I never wanted you to get busted. I didn't want to get busted. I tried to give you an attorney. You were going in the attorney's office and laying on the floor and not talking and wearing weird clothes and being an asshole and talking like he was a cop or whatever. The guy was trying to help defend us, idiot. And he kept getting in my face, man. And I said, if you get in my face for about another 10 seconds, dude, I'm going to knock your ass out. I promise. And that's exactly what happened. Tony Munger, if you're out there, I'm sorry, bro. But what happened was I was sitting there with Sister Tracy from my Church of Rock radio show and my partner. And Eric Tyndall, who was the guitar player for Bloody Mess and the Scabs, my old band. And I knocked him out with one punch. And the bartender came walking out and said, what happened here? And they said, this guy started getting physical bloody and he bloody took him out. And the guy's like, okay, get out of here. And so the dude stood outside the window glaring at me, man. And I just remember walking over and flipping him off thinking, dude, when are you going to be done with this? Like, I told you, let's be peaceful. I'll buy you a drink. Let's get over the past, whatever. But anyway, Flash forward about 10, 15 years after that, me and that dude found each other on social media, and he totally is like a big religious guy now. And he's like, I forgive you and all this. And I just said, bro, it's all in the past. We were freaking teenagers, man. Gigi ended up going to Dallas, I think. No, I'm not going to pretend like I know, because I'm going to sit here and screw up. But I know that Gigi went somewhere, maybe South Carolina. That's where he went. I think he went to South Carolina and did some gig, and he swung from a chandelier and broke it, and did some other destruction. I don't quite remember. But I do know that after that, he went to the Twilight Room in Dallas, Texas, where Gene Perfect, my good friend who's a subscriber to this channel, played bass for him. Gigi Allin and the Texas N.A., you know what. The Texas, I can't say the word on here, man. It's forbidden. But Gene Perfect, if you're out there, cheers to you, bro. And Gigi went to that gig and ended up calling me a couple days later after I got out of jail. He called my house. He got me, I think somebody from my family, my grandmother, somebody bailed me out of jail after like 3 days of sitting in there. And when I got home, Gigi happened to call that night, collect from Texas. He's like, Bloody, I'm in the hospital in Dallas. I got blood poisoning. And I'm like, oh my God, I just got out of jail, man. And he goes, dude, we stayed at your house. I'm like, yeah. When I got out of jail and went back to my house, it was completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. All my crap was just everywhere. People had just taken what they wanted. And I was really pissed off, man, because a lot of my friends stayed there and partied when I went to jail, I heard. Not my friends, but, you know, my associates back then. And a lot of people just took over my apartment. And while I was in jail, no one was there to safeguard it. Gigi was on a bus headed back to, either to South Carolina and then Texas, or Texas after that. I'm not going to proclaim to know that lineage or that timeline. Hey, man, it's been a thrill telling you about this story, though, and how it worked out. And that's pretty much the bottom line and the details of the show that I just told you about from July 31st, 1985, where it was only $3.50 to see the king of scum rock, Gigi Allin, take his first dump ever on stage. Just think, some people pay for that. Hey, man, just joking. Thanks for being here at Bloody F Mess Official. Thanks for subscribing. Cheers.